All right, thanks for staying with us. We have in the studio now Danjuma Musa, President of the National Union of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions Employees, is here with us in the studio. It's good to have you join us right now. Thank you very much. And certainly as we get along, we'll be getting voices from the Director General of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, Segun Osinowo, as we get along, and we have an interview with him. Now, let's get on here, Danjuma. Give us an understanding of the backgrounds of the kind of relations that exist when it comes to where Neca stands and where NLC stand and how they interrelate on the ideal basis.
All right, thank you very much for having me in your studio. First, looking at the relationship. Now, Neca as a body is an association. You know, the association comprises of captains of banks and other institutions and all of that. And then NLC comprises of affiliates of other unions. Now, in taking decisions as an association of employers and employee, which is the labor aspect now, you have to look at, you know, the correlations. What are the relationship between the workers and the employers? Now, in the case of Neca, while you are about to take your decision as an association of employers, now fine, you discuss with your association, with your members, to say, okay, what are the way forward? And then you come up with the idea to say, okay, fine, now since you have workers in place, why don't we call these workers to explain to them, these are the issues on ground. We can no longer afford to continue to keep you as our workers. This is what we intend doing and all of that. But unilaterally, as an association, which of course, Osinowo is claiming to say we have faction in the Nigerian Labour Congress. There is no faction in Nigerian Labour Congress. As we are concerned, we are one. As long as you're a worker in Nigeria, you belong to the labor movement and all of that.
When you say there are no factions, I mean, every day we talk about the Ajero-led faction and of course the Ayuba-Waba faction. It's obvious that there is, there are factions here.
To us, as a movement, there's no faction.
Are you saying then that the NLC recognizes the Ajero
Sure,
as
they do. They
part
do.
of the NLC?
Sure, they do. Because all our activities are the same. Everything they do in Abuja and we do here in Lagos, it's all the same.
Yeah, but I like when you say it's a movement.
Yes.
NLC is NLC, but when we have an Abuja office and we have maybe a Lagos office, doesn't that constitute factionalization?
No.
So who do we, if the federal government wants to address or engage the NLC, who would they address?
Let me take you back to memory lane. Back when we have the issue of fuel increase, the federal government themselves deemed it fit to even call the Ajero group and even the Ayuba group. That is to say, the federal government recognized that the movement is one.
Okay.
So that's in our own thinking. We don't believe in maybe you know, segregation or saying we are splitted.
I agree. I agree with you when you say the movement. It's one movement.
It's
Certainly
one
we
movement,
understand,
sure.
because it's for the benefit of the
because
workers.
there are agitation.
But apart from the movement, which it feels like an ideology moved by one engine, powered by the same circumstance, when it comes to administrative engagement, when it comes to recognition from that perspective, who should they address?
Now you have to look at the genesis of all of these.
Who should they address?
They should address Ajero, of course, as the president.
Okay, so so how about Ayuba Waba? Where does he come in here?
Well, I don't know of that. All I know is Ajero is my leader.
Okay,
as
so
the president.
let's look at the Ajero-led faction and how it has conducted itself recently. Of course, what led to this particular spat was the picketing. Well, let's even begin with the retrenchment going on at the banks.
Yeah.
And of course, there was picketing, you know, and all of that.
Sure.
Then the Neca was holding this meeting, their 59th
annual general meeting.
Annual general meeting.
Sure,
and then you have the Ajero-led faction you know, picketing there, or demonstrating and all of that, it actually led to violence. What Ajero-led faction is saying is that Neca does not support or, you know, protect the welfare of workers.
Yeah, sure.
Is that what it is?
That is it.
Wasn't it taking it too far, you know, with all the violence that went on at this 59th AGM?
Yeah, to us, Neca is taking it too far. Because ordinarily, as an association...
I'm talking about the NLC Ajero-led faction taking it too far with its
the
actions
picketing?
Yes.
I don't think so. If you look at the trend of events, initially, when workers were sacked, like I said in my interview with your correspondent, I said, we have representative of workers in the banking sector, in the financial sector in general. Now, if anything like that is supposed to take place, we are supposed to be contacted to say, okay, this is what we intend doing. But what they did was that they went ahead, sacked workers unilaterally without consultation, without, making contact and all of that with the union involved. Now, aside from that, Osinowo himself, the Neca DG, went to Abuja, organized a meeting with the captains of banks, that is the MDs and all of that, without, recourse to the union to say, okay, fine, you have a representative, you are supposed to also be part of this meeting. And then they went ahead, take a decision, and then came up with a press conference. Osinowo himself is now telling the whole world, the public, that he has gotten in touch with the union involved.
Yes,
okay.
the Waba-led faction was involved.
Before, since you've made that point, Osinowo, we also held a discussion with him, and there was something he talked about as far as this is concerned. I'd like my producers to play that back, and let's get to hear what he said, because he said that he talked about the fact that there was a correspondence from Nubife to carry on the meeting on their behalf. So whatever is discussed seem to be binding, as the case may be. But let's hear from him directly. If my producers will play that report back, so we can hear what Segun Osinowo, the Director General of the Neca, said.
I must say that, look, from what I've read about their own narration, they have labeled the picketing peaceful. There was nothing peaceful about that picketing. A picketing where you have used tanker to block the entrances of a legitimate organization. A picket where you have used 2 long buses to block access to public roads cannot be peaceful. A picket where you have not allowed lawful occupants of a building to come in or to leave the building cannot be peaceful. So when that happened, we appealed to the police to disperse them, but the police said, sorry, they didn't have that instruction from their boss to disperse them. And I won't say that probably divine intervention came in, right, from nowhere. And some people came, and then it disrupted the picketers. Now there has been allegation that the counter force that came was instigated by Neca. Neca doesn't operate that way. That's never been our hallmark. That's never been our modus operandi. We are an organization that believes in the rule of law. We will not use lawlessness to dislodge lawlessness. No matter how desperate or perplexed our situation is, we will not really do that.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll get the right sound on tape on that. But he just talked about the issue of the picketing generally. Now, can you give us a description of how the process went? Because he said that the process wasn't peaceful.
Fine. I don't know how best you can describe a peaceful process. We are a movement, a labor movement. Picketing normally, you go to an organization, you don't destroy their properties. What you do is to barricade the entrances and all of that, to deprive workers from gaining entrance. We did not go there with guns, knives, and all of that. He is now mentioning that it's a violent picketing. I don't know how he described violence. It's a peaceful protest as long as
do you picket with tankers and trailers, which is what Osinowo just said in that report?
Tankers belongs to the movement. The tankers we took there belongs to Nupen, and it's for the movement. Whenever we are going for picketing, if you remember back then, when we picketed First Bank, we also went with tankers. We picketed Union Bank, we also went with tankers. I don't know why he's finding this one different, that it's a violence picketing. It is not a violence picketing.
All
Would
right.
we, as a movement, go to Neca and bring thugs again to attack ourselves? It is not possible. It is the same Osinowo.
All right, let's
Okay.
quickly see
Yes.
that input from, of course, the Neca DG, Segun Osinowo,
yeah, we
what
have
he had
that
to say about this particular issue.
When you are going to a bipartite meeting or a tripartite meeting in industrial relations, it's within your right to decide on who should be part of your delegation. And it's within the right of the other party you are going to meet to determine who is going to be part of their delegation. As part of NECA's delegation, we have all the banks, because the issue we're going to discuss concerns the banks. I will go to the meeting and we'll introduce ourselves and introduce those banks. In industrial relations, you don't question the credentials of the other party because you are relating with the institution. And the institution has the liberty and right to determine who will represent it. Even if you have observed that where some certain people will be here, you can just make an observation. But you cannot dictate or insist. Such issues are handled through the internal dynamics of each of the representative organizations. And when we got there, even before we asked, the president of NSC offered explanation that yes, we invited our comrades from Nubife, but because of A and B issues they are having in Lagos, they are unable to be part of our delegation, and they have written this letter to us. And he brought the letters out and read it to us to provide information and fact on the situations as they relate to the banks we are going to discuss today. So we have the authority to go ahead and discuss this. What should we do under that circumstance? Walk out of the meeting? Or insist that until Nubife president or general secretary, they read the letter out and the signatories to the letter. The president of Nubife signed the letter. So what are we talking about? That is outside our control. And if the other party has explained to us why they were not present, we should not start questioning them. We got to believe them.
Yes, we still have the president of Nubife, Dr. Danjuma Musa, right here in the studio, and we're looking at the Neca NLC brouhaha. Thanks for staying with us. Now, let's even go to the real issues here.
He was about reacting to the NECA DG saying that they were represented at the meeting. They sent a letter signed by the president.
All right, thank you very much.
Which is you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
First of all, when a meeting is organized, ordinarily, administratively, you're supposed to get a correspondent from those authorities that is organizing a meeting. One, we are not even aware that the meeting of such magnitude would be organized in Abuja. How would we have written a letter to say this is our issues?
But he said that there was a letter from you
Signed
by you, the president, saying they should go ahead.
Even when that meeting took place, I was not in Lagos. How would I have signed a letter that I'm not aware of?
But you did find out about this 59th AGM that was going on, that you actually picketed. How did you get the information on that one?
Fine. There's so many ways we do get our information and all of that. Even while
obviously.
we want to picket our organization, you don't announce to them.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Now, on the issue of sacking of workers in the banks, Ngige, the Labour and Employment Minister, did intervene.
Sure.
And yes, indeed, the banks, put the brakes on as far as retrenchment of workers were concerned.
That is not true.
So what is the true
After the
situation?
pronouncement, banks still sack workers. We are aware. But I don't want to mention names now. We are aware of several banks still went ahead to sack workers. That is one of the major, agitations of the workers in the banks. Ordinarily, as a leader in the movement, if I don't react, what would Nigeria say? Now, you went ahead, you went to Abuja, organized for a meeting. Now, you heard him when he was saying that he is representing the bankers. So I see no reason why he's comparing, issues with the captains of banks with that of the movement, Nigerian Labour Congress. Is Osinowo supposed to detect for the movement?
But Neca also represents represents the interests of workers, right? And what Neca is saying here is, how realistic really is it that there will not be retrenchments considering the prevailing economic situation in the country? And if with the banks even putting the brakes on this retrenchment exercise, how sustainable do you think this, will be?
Thank you very much. But then, when you look at his statement, ordinarily, he's supposed to protect the interests of workers. Giving good advice to employers of labor in the movement, in the sector. But Osinowo, decision reverses even the case. That's the way we look at it.
Yeah, but he's the head of the Nigeria Employers Association. So which means in as much as he's concerned by the labor movement or the labor union, he's more concerned because he's the head of the Association of Employers.
But presently, as he speaks, he disassociates himself with the movement.
All right, let's listen to him say something on this particularly.
On Thursday, we got wind of Comrade Ajero's plan to come and picket Neca. And what was Comrade Ajero's grouse? From grapevine, I think that's a wrong word to say. From feedback which I got from people who accosted him and asked him, oh, why are you picketing Neca? He said two things, and those two things were not really at the same level of importance to him in view of the first which was presented. We've done an analysis of it. The first which he presented was that in my earlier interaction with the press, I called his fashion a rogue fashion of the union. That was the first statement he made. And if you are being asked the reason for your action, psychologically, the first reason you present should be taken as the most important reason to you. Then the second reason which he presented was that Neca had been anti-union, Neca had been supporting rationalization of staff in the banking industry. So as far as it's concerned, the first reason which he gave that, Neca called him a rogue union, I consider to be the main reason. And of course, I'm not going to deny that, because we had a reason for using the terminology rogue union, which has a legal basis. Because for you to be an authentic union in this environment, you must parade a certificate of registration. Any institution or person that is practicing trade unionism in this environment without a certificate of registration is illegal. And when a body is illegal, it's a rogue union, it's a rogue body. Section 2 and Section 51 of the Trade Union Act is very clear about it. And such people, in fact, are subjectable to prosecution by the law.
All right. Well, you heard those comments from the DG there. And he's saying that one of the reasons for the picketing was because he called the Ajero-led faction a rogue union, as the case may be. What's your reaction?
But I think he also forgot that affiliates make up the NLC. With or without Ajero, Nubifi can organize a picketing and invite other unions. It's not only Ajero that is there. We have the like of Nupen, we have Nui itself, we have the civil society in the picketing. We have other unions. We have also Railway, Nigeria Union of Railway, also present. So, if you are talking about, an organization that is not registered, which of them is he talking about? We made up the NLC. So if Adeola is not present as the president of NLC, we can also go ahead to picket Neca. He has forgotten that we organized the picketing, not Adeola.
All right.
I get the impression that what Osinowo was saying there, that this is really a battle of wits, a battle of egos, not necessarily, about the interest of workers. And considering the fact that both your organization, the NLC and Neca, you're actually working, you're actually supposed to be on the same page, protecting the interest of workers.
You have forgotten
so
that.
What exactly is wrong here?
He made a statement earlier that while he was in Abuja, Ayuba Waba mentioned to him that we wrote him a letter. First, I asked, where is the letter? Who signed the letter?
He said it was the president, Danjuma Musa, which
I
is
am
you,
the president seated here,
of
and I'm saying, no, I didn't sign any letter. I'm not aware of any letter.
And you did not get any letter?
I did not get any letter. There was no invitation from Neca, nor from the bankers committee. We are not aware. Now, Ayuba that did not know anything that is going on in the banking sector, how could he have gone to such meeting and begin to explain to them, okay, these are the issues and all of that, without carrying us along?
Yeah, but he's the president. He's the president of the NLC.
He should have asked us what exactly are our agitation if he claims to be the president.
Okay, so let's use this opportunity then. Let's use this opportunity then. What exactly is your agitation about? If you want to, clarify it for Nigerians to know.
Now, fine. One, we have made it clear earlier that people that were sacked, should be returned to work. Due process must be followed. Let's go to a round table and negotiate their exit package. The essence of doing this is for management to cut corners, for them not to be able to pay workers their severance package. And we are saying no. Osinowo is, busy telling them you can go ahead with the sack and all of that. Is that the due process he's talking about? He said whatever we have done is illegal. Which of them is illegal now?
All right,
we have the Labour Law, we have the Labour Act, and all of that.
All right, before the picketing was carried out, did you exhaust the process of negotiation, which is laid down principle for industrial relations?
First, they were nowhere to be found. We even wrote a series of letters to them. That is what even motivates us to write a petition to the minister. When the minister came out, to tell the whole wide world that mass sack is not allowed, it's not acceptable, and all of that.
All right,
let's follow due process.
Let's hear Osinowo on this issue now.
At a much lower level, we have what we call the sectoral unions or the industry-wide unions. Now, that level, you usually have employers' representative and you usually have workers' representative. These two parties, from time to time, engage in collective bargaining. Collective bargaining, whether from a procedural perspective or from a substantive perspective. And of course, in the course of engaging in collective bargaining, they might have their issues. So the industrial relations system at times could be a conflict-prone system where the two parties are unable to resolve their differences. When they are faced with that situation, they have a number of options open to them to resolve those issues. They might choose to go down the statutory path where they report the issues in dispute to the government, and the entire machinery of our trade dispute settlement procedure will take shape from there. Or they might choose to invite the umbrella organizations I've mentioned, Neca and NLC, to come and mediate on those issues. In which case, they are delegating to their umbrella organization the power and the authority to resolve the issues of their differences. So that's how the system really works. And the final level is the level of the companies, where you have the unions at the level of the company relating with the management of the company. And when they have their differences which they cannot resolve, they can then go to the next level of the sectoral and the industry-wide collective bargaining.
Okay, right. So have you taken advantage of all of these options that are open to you to resolve these issues?
I'm actually happy he narrated the process and procedures and all of that. But in all of this, we have written a series of letters to captains of banks. We have written, let me mention, Diamond Bank in particular, we wrote more than 10 letters requesting for a meeting, for a tripartite meeting, for us to be able to resolve, issues, affecting workers in the bank. But up to today, they refuse to reply our letters. As of yesterday, I spoke with one of them, and they said, they called me about 2 days ago to say we're supposed to have meeting today, which is Wednesday. And I said, okay, fine. Give us an official, written letter for us to, be able to organize ourselves. Yesterday, only for me to call them to say, is the meeting still holding? Because we have not received any letter from your management. They say, oh, they're sorry that there's a mix-up somewhere and all of that.
Okay, so what will it take
Anytime
then?
we write,
what will it take for all the factions in Labour and, of course, Neca to meet each other halfway so that,
resolutions can be
are found?
It's only for us to come to a round table to see how best we can resolve these issues. If not, these lingering agitations and all of that will continue. I don't know. Let them call us to a round table.
What will you be bringing to the table?
Yeah, the agitation of workers in the financial sectors.
But that was part of the resolutions that came out from the meeting in Abuja.
Without carrying on, they don't even know what happens to workers in the banking sector. Like I said, Ayuba cannot just go, to a meeting without telling us, okay, this is what we want to discuss. It was after the meeting that he was calling to say this is what they have discussed. Is that supposed to be so?
All right. We'll have time to still dwell more on this because I guess there are so many other aspects of this issue that people will have to let the people know. But certainly, Danjuma Musa, President of the National Union of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions Employees, Nubifie, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.